The space station floated quietly in orbit around a silver-blue planet, its long arms stretching outward like the petals of a metal flower. Inside the station, many species lived and worked together. Humans were only one of them, and though they were still new among the stars, they had begun to earn a place in this vast community. Amir walked through one of the wide hallways, his eyes moving across the glowing panels on the walls and the windows that showed the endless dark outside. He was not a soldier or a great leader. He was a simple explorer, chosen for his ability to adapt, learn, and stay calm in strange situations. This was his first long assignment away from Earth, and though he tried to hide it, he still felt nervous. The crew around him came from different planets. Some were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like glass. Others were covered in scales that reflected the lights of the hall. And then there was Rena. She was small compared to many of the others, her skin pale with faint lines that glowed softly in patterns that shifted when she laughed. Her eyes were large and full of curiosity. Unlike most of the others, she seemed fascinated by humans, especially Amir. Rena walked beside him, her steps light and quick. "You are different," she said, her voice carrying a musical tone. "Your body is softer than mine. Your movements are slow but careful. It makes me wonder how humans have survived." Amir smiled, a little unsure how to answer. "We survive because we work together. We survive because we don't give up, even when things are hard." Rena tilted her head, studying him as if he had said something unusual. "Strange," she said. "Other species give up when there is no chance. Yet you speak as if humans keep fighting even when there is no hope." "That is true," Amir replied. "Sometimes it makes us foolish, but sometimes it saves us." The two continued walking toward the research chamber where the crew gathered each morning. Round them, machines hummed softly, and the air carried a faint smell of metal and ozone. Amir tried to hide his unease. The galaxy was so large, and humanity was still learning its place. Most aliens saw humans as weak. They had no claws, no scales, no wings, no natural weapons. Only their minds and their determination set them apart. But Rena did not look at him with pity. She looked at him with interest, as if she were studying something rare. Sometimes Amir felt like a small creature under a magnifying glass. When they entered the chamber, other crew members were already gathered. Tomas, another human on the team, nodded in greeting. But most of the others were aliens of different forms. A tall figure with 4 arms adjusted controls on a large screen. A creature with a long tail coiled around a chair, reading data from a glowing tablet. The commander, a scaled alien named Harun, addressed the group. "Today we begin mapping the storms on the planet below. This will help us understand its atmosphere and may prepare the way for future colonies. Each of you has your role. Work carefully and report any unusual findings." Amir listened closely. His job was simple: collect and organize data. But he could feel Rena's eyes on him. When the meeting ended, she followed him again, speaking softly so others would not hear. "Amir, I have read about humans," she said. "Your bodies are fragile. You cannot survive extreme cold or heat without protection. You cannot heal from wounds as quickly as my people. You are weak compared to many others here. Yet you smile. Why do you smile when you are weak?" Amir paused, considering his words. "Because smiling gives us strength. It reminds us that even when we are small, we still have something to give. Maybe we are weak compared to others, but we also learn quickly. We find ways to overcome limits." Rena's markings brightened with a soft glow. For her species, this was the sign of amusement. "You speak as if weakness is a kind of strength." "Maybe it is," Amir replied. As the day continued, they worked together in one of the observation rooms. The large windows revealed the planet below, covered in thick swirling clouds. Machines sent streams of data across the screens, and Amir carefully recorded everything. Rena leaned close, sometimes watching the numbers, sometimes watching him. When Amir made a small mistake and dropped the stylus, she laughed. A light sound that filled the room. She reached down to pick it up, brushing his hand lightly as she gave it back. Her species valued touch as a form of connection, though Amir still struggled to get used to it. "You are clumsy," she said with a smile. "Maybe," Amir answered, "but humans usually find a way to fix mistakes." Rena leaned closer, her large eyes sparkling with mischief. "I think you are interesting, Amir." "Very interesting." He shifted uncomfortably, not sure if she was teasing or serious. Yet he could not deny that he felt a strange warmth around her. She did not treat him as weak, not truly. She treated him as something mysterious, something to be discovered. Later that evening, as the crew gathered for a shared meal, Rena stayed near Amir. The food was a mix of human and alien dishes, some of which Amir still found strange, but he tried everything, refusing to look afraid. Rena noticed this and gave a soft laugh. "You pretend to be brave, even when you are not," she said. "Maybe," Amir admitted, "but pretending sometimes becomes real." Her head tilted again. Her markings glowing softly. "That is why. Humans are interesting. You make weakness into strength. You make fear into courage. I will learn more about you, Amir." He looked at her, unsure whether to be comforted or concerned. He had not come here expecting close friendships with aliens, yet Rena's curiosity pulled him in. The galaxy was vast and often cold, but in her eyes there was warmth. As the station lights dimmed for the night cycle, Amir lay in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Earth, about his family far away, and about the strange girl who seemed so fascinated by him. He whispered to himself, "I hope I can prove humans belong out here." Little did he know, Rena's playful interest would soon lead to something far more important than either of them could imagine. The station followed a steady rhythm. Morning cycles brought light across the wide halls, and the crew began their work with quiet focus. Amir had started to grow used to the routines. Though each day still felt new and full of discoveries, he was no longer the silent observer he had been on his first day. Now, he spoke more freely and sometimes even joked with the others. But no one brought more energy into his life than Rena. Wherever Amir went, she was never far away. Her endless curiosity made her ask him questions about human life, about Earth, about how people raised families, about what laughter meant, about what it felt like to dream. Amir answered as best he could, sometimes with honesty, sometimes with humor. He did not always know how to explain human ways to someone who had grown up in a completely different world. That morning, they were assigned to work together again in the observation chamber. The large windows stretched high above them, showing the planet below. The storm still swirled, layers of silver and blue cloud turning in endless circles. Machines clicked and hummed, recording the weather patterns. Amir sat at the console, writing down numbers as they appeared. His eyes stayed on the screen, but he could feel Rena watching him again. "You humans," she said softly, "you always write things down. My people store everything in memory. Why do you not trust your minds?" Amir smiled at her question. "Because our minds are not perfect. We forget. We make mistakes. Writing helps us remember." Rena tilted her head, her markings shifting in slow patterns. "Strange. You admit weakness, yet you do not seem ashamed." "Why should I be ashamed?" Amir asked. "Weakness is not shameful. It just means we need tools. And when we have tools, we grow stronger." Rena leaned closer, her eyes wide with amusement. "Perhaps that is why you are so interesting. You carry weakness as if it were not a burden, but a secret kind of power." Her words made Amir laugh nervously. He looked back at the console, trying to focus, but he could still feel her eyes on him. Finally, he turned to her. "Rena, why are you so curious about me? There are many others here, but you always ask me questions." Her markings brightened in response, almost like a smile on her skin. "Because you are different. Most humans are cautious with me, but you are not afraid. You do not push me away." Amir did not answer at first. He was not sure what to say. He liked her company, though he did not fully understand her ways. As the work continued, Rena's playfulness began to show. She nudged Amir when he leaned too close to the console, teased him when he stumbled over a word, and even leaned over his shoulder to watch the data scroll by. Amir pretended to be annoyed, but he could not hide the smile that tugged at his lips. Finally, during a pause, she leaned even closer. Her voice was playful now. Amir, my people share friendship with touch. You flinch when I touch you, but I think you are only pretending. Perhaps you do not understand. Before Amir could ask what she meant, Rena suddenly leaned down and gave him a light, quick bite on his arm. Amir yelped loudly. Ouch, he shouted, pulling back in surprise. Rena laughed, her markings glowing bright with amusement. Did that hurt so much? It was only a small bite. Among my people, this is how we show closeness. It is not meant to harm. Amir rubbed his arm, half shocked and half embarrassed. The other crew members in the room turned to look, and when they saw what happened, many of them laughed as well. A tall, four-armed alien even clapped his hands together in amusement. Very funny, Amir muttered, his cheeks warm. He tried to act serious, but he could not help smiling a little at her laughter. Rena leaned back, still grinning. You humans are so dramatic. Such a tiny bite, and you cry out as if I cut off your arm? Amir shook his head, hiding his smile. It surprised me. Humans don't usually bite each other unless they are fighting. That made her pause for a moment. Her eyes blinked slowly, and her markings shifted into a thoughtful pattern. Strange for us. It means trust. To touch with teeth is to say, I'm close to you. I'm not your enemy. Well, Amir said carefully, on Earth, we do. Not say it like that, but I understand. She studied him for a moment longer, then laughed again. You shouted so loudly. The whole station must have heard you? Amir sighed. But even he began to laugh quietly at himself. Still, as the moment passed, something strange began to happen. His arm tingled where her teeth had touched. At first, he thought it was only from the bite, but soon the feeling spread through his body. He frowned and rubbed at his arm again. The warmth moved into his chest, then down through his hands. His senses sharpened, and he felt the hum of the machines louder than before. Almost as if the whole room was alive around him, Rena noticed his expression. What is wrong? She asked, her voice no longer playful. Amir shook his head, unsure. I don't know. I feel strange. The tingling grew stronger. His eyes caught details in the screens that he had not noticed before, tiny shifts in the numbers. Faint colors outside the window that seemed invisible moments earlier. His heartbeat raced. But instead of weakness, he felt alert, focused, almost stronger. The room grew quiet as the others realized something was happening. The station doctor, an older alien with silver skin, stepped forward. Bring him to the medical bay, the doctor ordered. Now, Rena's markings dimmed with concern. Amir, I did not mean harm. It was only a game. Amir looked at her, his voice calm but uncertain. I know, but something is happening. I don't understand it. Together, the crew escorted him to the medical bay. Machines scanned his body, lines of data filling the air. The doctor frowned, his long fingers moving across the controls. This is unusual, the doctor said. His cells are changing. The bite has triggered a reaction we did not expect. Rena stood beside Amir, her hands clasped together tightly. My people share energy when we bite. It is harmless to us, but with a human, maybe it is different. Amir closed his eyes for a moment, trying to steady his breathing. He was not in pain, but he felt different. His senses, his awareness, even the beat of his heart, all of it seemed sharper, stronger. When he opened his eyes, he found Rena still watching him, her face filled with worry. He gave her a small smile, even through his confusion. I guess, he said softly, this is what happens when humans and aliens get too close. Rena did not laugh this time. She only nodded, her eyes wide, as if she understood that something important had just begun. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of scanning machines. Amir lay on the examination bed, staring at the bright lights above. He tried to keep calm, but his body felt different with every passing moment. His skin tingled, his muscles felt awake, and his eyes seemed to catch even the smallest flicker of movement. The station doctor, a silver-skinned alien named Dren, stood nearby, watching the data scroll across the screen. His long fingers tapped against the controls, his face thoughtful but concerned. Rena stayed close to Amir, her markings dimmed in worry. She had never expected a playful bite to lead to this. DRAN finally spoke. Your body is reacting in a way I do not understand. Your cells are not breaking down, and you are not poisoned. Instead, something inside you is unlocking, almost as if it was waiting for this trigger. Amir frowned. Unlocking? What does that even mean? The doctor turned to face him. Your senses, your reflexes, even your strength are increasing. This is not normal for a human. At least, not in the records we have. Rena's voice was soft, almost guilty. It is my fault. My people use bites as a bond. We share energy through saliva, but with Amir, something strange has happened. I did not mean for this. Amir sat up slowly, ignoring the doctor's warning to stay still. I don't feel hurt. I don't feel sick. I just feel different. He looked around the room, noticing details he had never seen before: the faint cracks in the wall panels, the rhythm of the lights, even the soft vibration under the floor. He could hear the footsteps of someone walking down the hallway long before they entered. When Tomas, the other human crewmate, rushed in, Amir turned his head before Tomas even opened the door. What happened? Tomas asked, looking worried. Amir gave him a tired smile. That's what I'd like to know. Drum crossed his arms, his silver eyes thoughtful. This is not an illness. It is an awakening of something hidden. Humans may have abilities you do not know about. Rena's bite may have unlocked them. Tomas frowned. But why only Amir? Why not me or other humans? The doctor shook his head. Perhaps not all humans are the same, or perhaps the trigger needed was unique. Amir looked down at his hands. He clenched them into fists, then released. His body felt stronger, yet also restless. So, what am I supposed to do now? Just live with this. Trent studied him for a moment. For now, yes, but we will monitor you carefully. The changes are still happening. We must see where they lead. Rena stepped forward. Amir, I swear I did not mean harm. My people believe a bite is a gift, not a curse. But with you, I fear it has brought something unpredictable. Amir met her eyes. There was no anger in his voice, only calm. I know you didn't mean harm. And maybe this is not a curse. Maybe it's something else. The crew gave him time to rest, but Amir found it hard to sleep. Every sound in the station reached him now. He could hear doors opening far down the hall, hear the faint humming of power lines, even the quiet breathing of Rena when she sat nearby. Later, when the lights dimmed for night cycle, Amir walked through the halls alone. His footsteps were quieter than before, almost silent. He moved with ease, as if his body had been waiting for this all his life. He stopped at one of the wide windows, looking out into the dark space beyond. Stars shone like cold fire against the black. The sight filled him with wonder, but also with questions. Why him? Why now? Was this only the beginning? As he stood there, Rena appeared beside him. She had followed, though he had heard her coming long before she reached him. You are awake, she said softly. I can't sleep. Amir admitted. Everything feels different. The station, the sounds, even the air. Her eyes searched his face. Are you angry with me? Amir shook his head. No, I don't think this is your fault. Maybe it was always inside me, waiting for something to bring it out. Rena's markings flickered with relief, though her voice still carried guilt. My people never had this effect on another species before. It means humans are special in a way we do not understand. Amir gave a small laugh. Humans, special. Most aliens see us as weak. Maybe that is the mistake, Rena replied. Weakness can hide strength. Perhaps your people have always carried something hidden, something the galaxy has not yet seen. Her words stayed with him as they walked back together, for the first time since leaving Earth. Amir wondered if humanity had more to offer the stars than anyone believed. The next day, the crew gathered again in the main chamber. Haroon, the scaled commander, spoke to them about their mission on the storm-covered planet. But even as he gave orders, his eyes often flicked toward Amir. Word had spread quickly about what happened. Some crewmates watched Amir with curiosity, others with caution. A few seemed uneasy, whispering among themselves. The idea that a human could suddenly change unsettled them during the work shift. Amir noticed more of his new abilities. His hands moved faster across the console, his memory sharper, his focus unbroken. He caught mistakes in the data that even the advanced computers had missed. Tomas stared at him in disbelief. Amir, how did you notice that? Tomas asked. I don't know. Amir answered honestly. It just stood out to me. Rena smiled faintly. Though her eyes still carried worry, you see the world differently now. By the evening, Amir began to understand something important. His body was not just stronger, it was adapting every hour. It felt as though he was becoming more aware, more capable. And though it frightened him, it also filled him with determination. As the lights dimmed once more, Amir sat alone in the chamber. He thought of Earth, of how humans had always been underestimated by the greater galaxy. They had no claws, no wings, no glowing skin. But maybe they had something else, something hidden deep inside, waiting for the right moment. Rena entered quietly, sitting beside him without speaking. For a long time, they simply watched the planet turning slowly below. Finally, Amir spoke, his voice steady. Whatever is happening to me, I will not hide from it. If this is part of being human, then maybe it is time the galaxy saw what we really are. Rena nodded, her markings glowing faintly in agreement. Yes, perhaps this is the beginning of something greater. Perhaps humans will surprise us all. And in the silence of the station, Amir felt that her words might be true. Something had awakened inside him, and there was no going back. The station's daily rhythm continued, but for Amir, nothing felt normal anymore. Every movement, every sound, every sight seemed sharper. He could sense things before they happened: the hiss of a door opening down the hall, the flicker of a light about to fade, even the soft vibration of footsteps from someone approaching. At first, these changes unsettled him. He had always seen himself as an ordinary man, just one human among many. But now the galaxy was beginning to look at him differently, and he was not sure if he liked it. Rena noticed his unease. Wherever Amir went, her curious eyes followed. She asked questions, not just about his body, but about his feelings, his thoughts, and the strange connection that had formed between them since the bite. Amir, she said one morning as they walked through the long glass corridor that overlooked the stars. Do you feel me before I arrive? Amir paused. He wanted to deny it, but honesty pressed against him. Yes, I hear your steps before I see you. And sometimes, I feel something, as if I know you are near, even without sound. Rena tilted her head, her markings shifting in faint waves of light. That is not normal. Not even for my people. Perhaps the bond has become deeper than I imagined. Bond? Amir repeated. Yes. Rena said calmly, my people bite only those we trust, only those we wish to keep close. It is not just play, it is sharing. When I bit you, I gave you more than I intended. Her words left Amir silent. He stared out at the stars, unsure of what to say. Part of him wanted to believe her, and part of him feared what it meant. Later, in the medical bay, Drin continued his studies. He scanned Amir daily, recording every shift in his body. Your cells are rewriting themselves, the doctor explained. Not changing into something alien, but strengthening what was already there. It is as if your body has been awakened by Rena's energy. Humans may have hidden potential, and now it is surfacing. Amir sat quietly on the bed, listening. He no longer felt sick or weak. In fact, he felt alive in a way he had never experienced before, yet the thought of being different unsettled him. He was just Amir, not a soldier, not a hero. Tomas visited during one of these examinations. He gave Amir a firm pat on the shoulder. You always said humans survive because we adapt. Well, now you're proving it better than any of us. Amir gave a small smile but said nothing. That night, as the station lights dimmed, Rena found him again by the observation window. The storm-covered planet turned slowly below, its clouds flashing with silent lightning. You are changing each day, Rena said. But it is not only your body. I feel it too. When you are troubled, I sense it. When you are calm, I know. The bond is not one-sided. Amir turned to her. You feel me? Yes, she said simply. It is like a thread connecting us. Your kind does not share such bonds, but now you do. Amir leaned back against the wall, folding his arms. That explains why I feel closer to you, even when we don't speak. But it's strange. I wasn't ready for this. Rena's markings glowed softly. Neither was I, but perhaps it was meant to be. For a while, they stood in silence. Amir thought of Earth, of the people back home who had no idea what was happening to him. If they knew, would they be afraid, or would they see hope in his changes? The following days brought new discoveries. Amir's reflexes grew sharper. During a training exercise, a heavy tool slipped from the hands of a crew member. Before anyone else could react, Amir caught it midair with startling speed. The crew gasped, and whispers spread. Did you see that? One alien murmured. Humans should not move so quickly. He is different. Another said, their voice carrying both awe and unease. Harun, the commander, observed quietly. His scaled face showed no emotion, but Amir could feel his watchful eyes. The commander did not speak much, yet Amir sensed he was measuring him, weighing what this change could mean for the station and beyond. Later, during a quiet meal in the mess hall, Tomas leaned across the table. You know they're all talking about you, right? Some think you're dangerous. Some think you're the future. Which one do you think you are? Amir set down his cup and thought carefully. I don't know. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to do my work. But maybe now I have to be more than that. Rena, sitting beside him, added softly, You are not dangerous, Amir. You are proof that humans carry more than anyone believed. Her words gave him strength, though he still carried doubts inside. That night, Amir dreamed vividly. He saw Earth's mountains, forests, and oceans. He saw humans building cities, working together, laughing, and surviving storms. But he also saw shadows of alien eyes watching, judging, doubting humanity's place among the stars. When he woke, his chest was heavy with the feeling that something larger than himself was beginning. The next day, Harun called Amir into his office. The room was dim, with screens displaying maps of the planet below. The commander's scaled hands rested on the table as his golden eyes studied Amir. You are changing, Harun said bluntly. This cannot be hidden. Some will fear you. Others will try to use you. You must decide what you are. Amir met his gaze. I don't want to be a weapon, if that's what you mean. I just want to prove that humans belong here, among the stars. Harun nodded slowly. Then you must show control. If you lose yourself, you prove the doubters correct. But if you remain steady, you may show them that humans are not weak, only underestimated. Amir left the meeting with a heavy heart, but also with resolve. He knew now that his journey was no longer only about himself. It was about humanity. That evening, Rena joined him once more at the observation deck. She sat close, her markings faint and calm. Amir, she said quietly, when I bit you, I thought it was only play. But now I see it was more. We are connected. In a way I cannot explain. Your strength grows, but so does mine when I am near you. Perhaps the bond is not one-sided after all. Amir looked at her with surprise. You're saying, I'm changing you too. She nodded. Yes, I feel it, and I am not afraid. For the first time, Amir truly smiled. The bond no longer felt like a burden, but a bridge, a connection between human and alien, something that could change not just him, but both of their peoples. And though he did not yet know what trials lay ahead, Amir felt ready to face them not alone, but with Rena by his side. The stormy planet below the station had always seemed distant and harmless. But the real danger came from beyond the horizon of stars. Rumors had spread for weeks that a hostile faction was moving through this sector. They were known for attacking research stations, stealing technology, and leaving destruction behind. Until now, it had only been whispers. That changed one quiet morning. Amir was in the training hall, testing his balance and reflexes. Rena stood nearby, watching as he moved through exercises the doctor had suggested. His body reacted faster than ever before. when a drone launched a ball at him without warning. Amir caught it with one hand before it reached his face. Rena's markings glowed in delight. "You grow stronger each day," she said. Amir shook his head, breathing hard. "Stronger, yes, but I'm still learning. I don't know my limits yet." Before she could answer, the station alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the hall, and the deep voice of the commander echoed through the speakers. "Attention, all crew. Unidentified ships approaching. All stations report." Amir and Rena exchanged a look and hurried toward the command deck. When they arrived, the large viewing screen already displayed the threat. Dark ships slid out of the shadows of space, sharp and menacing. Their engines glowed like burning eyes, and their weapons hummed with power. The crew moved quickly to battle stations, their voices sharp with urgency. Harun stood at the center, calm but firm. "They are raiders. They come for research data, not peace. Prepare defenses." Amir felt his chest tighten. He had never faced real danger in space before. Exploration was one thing, but this was different. This was survival. Tomas stepped up beside him, his voice low. "Looks like your new strength might be tested sooner than you thought." Rena's hand brushed Amir's arm, steadying him. "Do not fear. We will face this together." The station shook as the raiders fired a warning shot across its shields. Sparks flew from one of the panels, and the crew scrambled to contain the damage. Harun gave sharp orders, his voice carrying authority. "Shields to maximum, weapons ready. We will not surrender our work." The raiders launched smaller crafts that sped toward the station. Alarm lights lit up across the command deck. The first wave of enemies cut through the outer defenses, boarding tubes clamping onto the station's hull. "They're boarding us," a crew member shouted. Amir's pulse raced. He turned to Harun. "What can I do?" The commander studied him for a long moment. "You wish to prove humans belong among us? Then stand with us now." Amir nodded firmly. His fear was real, but so was his determination. The crew split into defense groups. Amir joined Tomas and Rena as they moved into one of the long corridors, where the raiders were expected to breach. The air was tense, filled with the distant sounds of alarms and metal grinding against metal. Rena leaned close. "Stay near me. We will protect each other." Amir tightened his grip on the metal rod he had taken as a weapon. His hands shook slightly, but his body felt alive, his senses alert. He could hear the faint hiss of air as the enemy ship sealed against the hull. He could feel the vibration of approaching footsteps even before the breach door blasted open. The raiders stormed in, tall figures in dark armor, their faces hidden behind masks. They moved with practiced speed, but Amir was ready. His instincts surged, and before the first raider could strike, Amir swung the rod, knocking the weapon from the attacker's hands. The alien stumbled back, shocked at the human speed. Tomas and Rena moved beside him, fighting with precision. Rena's movements were quick and fluid, her body glowing faintly with the energy of her people. Tomas fought with raw determination, every strike filled with courage. Amir surprised even himself. He dodged blows he should not have seen, his body reacting faster than thought. When another raider lunged, Amir caught the arm mid-strike and pushed the enemy back with strength that felt unnatural but steady. The corridor filled with the clash of bodies and the shouts of defenders. The crew fought fiercely, unwilling to let the raiders take the station. At one point, a raider cornered Rena, raising a heavy weapon toward her. Without thinking, Amir moved faster than he ever had. He pushed her aside and took the strike across his shoulder. Pain burned through him, but instead of falling, he stood firm. His body healed quickly, the wound closing faster than anyone expected. Rena stared at him with wide eyes. "Amir, I'm fine," he said through gritted teeth. "Stay focused." The fight dragged on, but slowly the crew pushed the raiders back. Amir's presence became the turning point. Every time he moved, the raiders faltered, confused at how a human could react so quickly, recover so fast, and fight with such strength. Word spread quickly among the defenders. "The human is holding them," someone shouted. "With him, we can win." Amir felt the weight of those words, but he did not stop. His body was exhausted. Yet something inside pushed him forward. He fought not for glory, but for survival for his crew, for Rena, and for the chance to show that humans were more than fragile beings. Finally, the raiders pulled back, retreating toward their boarding tubes. The station shook as they disengaged, their ships firing one last barrage before fleeing into the stars. The alarms faded, leaving only the sound of heavy breathing and the sparks of damaged panels. The defenders stood together, tired but victorious. Harun's voice echoed through the speakers. The station is safe. The raiders are gone. We have held. In the corridor, Amir leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling with effort. Tomas clapped him on the back. I don't know how you did it, but you saved us. Rena stood close, her eyes bright with pride. You risked yourself. For me, you risked yourself for all of us. That is the true strength of humans. Amir looked at her, then at the others. He felt no pride in himself, only relief. I didn't do it alone. We all stood together. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. The crew no longer looked at him as weak. They looked at him as a force, as proof that humans had more within them than the galaxy had ever believed. And though the battle was over, Amir understood this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not ignore what had happened here. Word would spread, and others would come. For now, though, he stood among his crew, breathing deeply, knowing that humanity had taken its first true step into being more than anyone had expected. The silence after the battle felt heavier than the fight itself. The corridor lights flickered, and smoke drifted through the air. Crew members worked quickly to seal damaged sections. But the atmosphere on the station was tense. Everyone knew the raiders would return. They never left after one failed attempt. They always came back stronger. Amir sat on a bench in the medical bay, his shoulder wrapped in fresh bandages. The wound was nearly healed, but the doctor insisted on checking him again. Rena stood nearby, watching him with worry. You should rest, she said softly. Amir shook his head. I can't rest. If they return, we need to be ready. I won't sit aside while others fight. Tomas, leaning against the wall, let out a tired laugh. You sound more like a soldier than most of us. Amir looked down at his hands. They still trembled slightly from the rush of battle. I don't want to be a soldier. I just don't want to be useless. Harun entered the room then, his presence commanding silence. The commander looked at Amir for a long moment before speaking. You are far from useless. What you did out there saved lives. But the fight is not over. The crew gathered in the main hall later that evening. Harun stood at the center. With the large star map glowing behind him, red markers showed the path of the raider fleet. They retreated, but only to gather strength. Harun said, Scouts report their main ship is moving toward us. They will attack with full force. We cannot run. If we leave, they will chase us, and other stations will fall. This is where we make our stand. The room was silent. Everyone understood what that meant. If they failed, the station would be destroyed. Tomas crossed his arms. So we fight until we have nothing left. Harun nodded. Yes, we fight because this station carries knowledge worth protecting. We fight because the galaxy must know that raiders cannot take what they want. Amir looked around the room. Faces young and old showed fear, but also determination. These people were scientists, explorers, and healers, not warriors, yet they were ready to defend their home. Rena raised her voice. We are not alone. We have each other, and we have seen that humans can stand with us. That gives us hope. Several crew members nodded and murmured in agreement. Amir felt their eyes on him, and he straightened his back. He did not feel ready, but he knew he could not let them down. Preparations began at once. Engineers reinforced the station's shields with whatever parts they could find. Defense drones were armed and tested. Pilots readied the smaller ships for quick strikes. Amir trained harder than ever. His movements were faster, his strikes stronger. Each time he practiced with Tomas and Rena, his body responded as though it had already learned the fight before. Sometimes it frightened him, but he pushed the thought aside. The night before the expected battle, Amir stood alone at the viewing window. The stormy planet below glowed with lightning. The endless stars stretched beyond. He thought of Earth. Far away and unaware of what was happening here, Rena joined him quietly. For a long time, they said nothing. Finally, she spoke. "Do you regret leaving your world?" Amir shook his head slowly. "I miss it, but regret, no. If I had stayed, I would never have known this. I would never have known you." Rena's eyes softened. "Then we face tomorrow together." The alarm rang early the next day. The raider fleet had arrived. This time, there was no warning shot. Fire streaked across space as enemy weapons slammed into the station shields. The deck shook violently, and lights flickered. Crew rushed to their positions. Voices loud with urgency. Harun's orders cut through the chaos. "All units ready. Hold the line. Do not break." Amir stood in the main defense corridor once again. Side by side with Tomas and Rena, his grip on his weapon was steady. His heart calm despite the storm outside. He felt ready. The raiders' boarding craft struck the hull like claws, tearing through metal. The first wave of enemies burst into the corridor. This time, they came in greater numbers. Armored and armed for destruction. Amir moved first. His body reacted with speed no human should have had. He deflected strikes, disarmed enemies, and held the line with ferocity. Tomas covered his flank, his blade flashing. Rena's energy surged as she fought beside them, her movements fluid and bright. The corridor became a battlefield. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air, and shouts echoed against the metal walls. But Amir did not falter. He pushed forward, his strikes clean and powerful. The raiders began to hesitate, their confidence shaking. At one point, a massive raider leader stepped into the fight, towering over the others. His armor was thick, his weapon heavy. He laughed as he swung at Amir, expecting the human to fall. But Amir blocked the strike, the impact rattling the corridor. The crew watched in awe as Amir faced the giant raider head-on. Blow after blow echoed, but Amir did not step back. With a final surge of strength, he drove his weapon into the raider's chest, sending the armored figure crashing to the floor. The defenders cheered, their courage renewed. The battle raged across the station. But the tide began to shift. Amir's presence inspired everyone. Where he fought, the raiders struggled. Where he stood, the line held. Yet the enemy was relentless. Wave after wave crashed against them. Explosions shook the walls, and parts of the station grew dark as systems failed. Harun's voice rang through the comms. "Hold your ground. Reinforcements are coming. We only need to survive a little longer." Amir's muscles ached and sweat dripped down his face. But he did not slow. Each strike, each block, was fueled not only by strength but by something deeper: belief. He believed in the crew, in their unity, in the idea that humanity could stand as equals among the stars. At last, the sound of new ships echoed through the comms. Allied vessels jumped into the sector, their weapons blazing. The raider fleet, surprised by the sudden reinforcements, began to retreat. Their ships broke formation and vanished into the depths of space. The station was saved. When the alarms finally ceased, silence filled the corridors once more. The crew stood exhausted but alive. Amir leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Tomas clapped him on the shoulder, grinning despite his cuts and bruises. If anyone doubted humans before, they won't after today. Rena moved closer, her voice soft but full of pride. "You did more than fight. You gave us hope." Amir looked around at the crew, battered but smiling, and felt a warmth inside. He was no longer an outsider. He was one of them. Harun's voice came through the speakers one last time. "Today, we stood together, and we did not fall. Remember this moment. The galaxy will hear of it, and they will know that we are not weak." Amir closed his eyes, tired but content. He knew the war with the raiders was not over, but he also knew something greater had begun. Humanity had taken its stand, and the stars would never look the same again. The days after the great battle were strange and quiet. The station floated in orbit, wounded but alive. Hull plates were scorched, corridors still smelled of smoke, and some systems flickered, but the people inside moved with a new energy. They had faced destruction and survived. Amir walked the halls with a heavy heart, but also with pride. Everywhere he went, crew members greeted him with respect. Some smiled, some bowed their heads. Others simply whispered his name as he passed. He had become more than a visitor to them. He was a symbol of courage. Tomas noticed it too. "You're famous now," he said one evening as they repaired a section of the damaged defense corridor. Amir shook his head. "I didn't fight for fame. I fought because I had to. Any one of you would have done the same." Tomas gave a half smile. "Maybe. But you showed us something different. You showed us that humans are more than what the galaxy assumed. You gave us proof." Later, Amir sat by the viewing window, staring at the stars. Rena joined him quietly, her expression softer than usual. "Do you feel different now?" she asked. Amir thought about it. "I feel like I belong here. I don't know if I am the same person I was when I left Earth. I feel changed." Rena tilted her head. "Not changed, revealed. Maybe this is who you were always meant to be." Their conversation was interrupted when Commander Harun called for a meeting. The surviving officers and crew gathered in the hall, and Amir stood among them. Harun's voice carried strength, though he looked tired. "The Raiders are defeated for now. But this is not the end," Harun began. "They will return one day. Yet today we are not the same as before. We have shown the galaxy that unity can hold back even the darkest threat. But this victory cannot stay hidden in the stars. The worlds must know." He looked at Amir then, his gaze heavy with meaning. "You will carry this message." Amir blinked in surprise. "Me? Why me?" Harun explained. "Because you are human. Many species doubt humans, or they see you as weak, divided, or untested. But you stood with us when no one else could. You gave hope where none remained. If you speak, the galaxy will listen in a way it will not when I speak." The room murmured in agreement. Amir felt a weight settle on his shoulders. Fighting with a blade was one thing. Speaking for many was another. Rena placed her hand on his arm. "You do not carry this alone. We all stand with you, but your voice will reach farther than ours." Amir nodded slowly. He did not feel ready, but he had not felt ready for the battle either. And still he had fought. Preparations began for a journey. A repaired transport ship was chosen, swift enough to reach the nearest council world. Messages were prepared, records of the battle stored in the ship's systems. Amir would not travel alone. Rena insisted on joining, and Tomas volunteered as well. Harun approved. 3 voices will be stronger than one. Before leaving, Amir walked once more through the station. He saw children laughing in the halls again, scientists returning to their research, and workers repairing damage with determination. He realized then that this was what they had truly fought for. Not victory, but the chance for life to continue. The day of departure came. As Amir stepped onto the transport, dozens of crew members gathered to watch. Some raised their hands in salute, others shouted encouragement. Harun spoke last. "Carry our story, Amir. Let the galaxy know that even in the farthest corner, we stood and we endured." The ship lifted from the station and slipped into the endless dark. The journey was long and gave Amir time to think. At night, he dreamed of Earth, of his home, of a sky with only one sun and no starships above. He wondered what his family would think if they saw him now. Would they recognize him, or would they see a stranger? Rena often found him lost in thought. "You worry too much," she said one night as they shared a meal in the quiet ship. "I think about what comes next," Amir admitted. "What if I fail to convince them? What if they ignore me?" Rena shook her head gently. "Words do not always change minds, but truth does. You will carry truth. No one can deny what we faced." Tomas, leaning back with a grin, added, "And if words don't work, you can always challenge them to a fight. That should make them listen." They laughed, and for a moment the weight on Amir's heart felt lighter. At last, the ship approached the council world. It was vast and shining, with towers stretching into the sky and thousands of ships docking and departing. The council itself was an ancient body, where representatives of many species gathered. Humans were not yet part of it. Amir's presence there would be unusual, perhaps even unwelcome. As they entered the grand chamber, hundreds of voices hushed. Alien eyes of every color and shape turned to the young human who walked at the center. The council leader, a tall figure with silver skin, spoke first. "You are not a member of this body. Why do you come before us?" Amir took a deep breath. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. "I come with a message. Raiders attacked the station at the edge of the stars. They came with fire and destruction. They expected us to fall, but we did not. We stood together, human and alien, side by side, and we won." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some looked doubtful, others curious. The leader raised a hand for silence. "And why should this matter to us?" Amir lifted his head. "Because the raiders will not stop with one station. They will come again, and next time, they may strike here. But if we unite, if we stand as one, they cannot win. We proved it. I am proof of it." He gestured toward Rena and Tomas. "We fought together. We bled together. We survived because we trusted each other. That is the lesson. That is the hope." For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then one representative stood and spoke. "If even a human can stand in unity with others, then perhaps we have underestimated what is possible." One by one, others rose. Some spoke of sending aid, others of strengthening defenses. The mood began to shift. Doubt turned into consideration. Consideration turned into resolve. When the council finally dismissed the gathering, Harun's message was secured. The story would spread. Worlds would prepare. The raiders would find not scattered stations, but a united defense. As Amir left the chamber, Rena touched his shoulder. "You carried the weight well. You gave them a reason to listen." Amir let out a breath of relief. "I was so afraid I would fail." Tomas laughed and slapped his back. "You didn't. You gave them something new to believe in. That is more powerful than any weapon." Outside the chamber, the sun of the council world shone bright, and the sky was filled with ships. Amir gazed at it, feeling the weight on his shoulders lift just a little. He had not only fought a battle, he had carried a story, a legacy. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time, humanity was part of that change.